I found out today, September 3rd, is the day one of my all-time favorite movies was released back in 1969. I was born on June 20th, so I was a little over 2 months old when this came out. The Valley of Gwangi. I saw it a few years later sometime during the early 70s. I checked online, and one of the dates it aired on the CBS late movie was in 1972. So I would have been 4 at that time. I don't remember if that's the actual date I saw it on, but it's actually one of the earliest movies I remember seeing. Just little bits and pieces of it, fragments in my memory. I was just a real little guy, so my parents, I didn't get sent to bed. It's not like I had anywhere pressing to go. So they did occasionally, I remember I was up when they were watching the CBS late movie, and I do actually remember some of the movies that were playing, they were watching. Fragments, really, images. I remember when they showed the original Willard with Bruce Davison and Ernest Borgnine. I remember that. They also showed the Black Scorpion. I was a little older, so I do remember that one a little more clearly, and I adored that movie. I thought it was awesome. But I remember the Valley of Gwangi was on. And like I said, I was very young, so I wasn't able to appreciate it like I do now, but it was still awesome. I mean, hey, it's dinosaurs. What more could you ask for? And they're the good kind too. They're not iguanas with horns and fins glued on them. And it wasn't a guy in a suit, a bad suit, I should say. But they were done in stop motion by the master himself, Ray Harryhausen, and that was my introduction to Ray Harryhausen, and actually really to dinosaurs. If you're going to get introduced to dinosaurs, Ray Harryhausen is the best way to do it, because he did them right. And in my mind, after seeing that and also watching Journey to the Beginning of Time on Garfield Goose, where the dinosaurs were stop motion as well, in my mind, that's how they were. That's how they moved and acted. That set them apart from everything else around them, and that was part of their mystique. I do remember them chasing the little horse into the Forbidden Valley, and I do remember the Pteranodon trying to carry off the little boy, but he was just too heavy for him. And he landed on the ground, and the cowboy wrestled him, and then I remember Gwangi made his big appearance eating I keep calling it a Struthionemus. They keep saying it's one of the other types, those small two-legged dinosaurs. It was kind of a source of trauma for me for a while, because for some reason I was just a little guy, and this was my line of reasoning. Gwangi is a big two-legged dinosaur, and the Struthionemus, or whatever he is a little two-legged dinosaur. Therefore, the Struthionemus was Gwangi's baby, and I just saw Gwangi attack and eat his baby right there in front of these cowboys. So I admit it, I was kind of disturbed by that. But, as I grew older, I realized, and yes, nobody ever fails to remind me, dude, they're two totally different species. Well, I know that now. I have understanding now that a big two-legged dinosaur and a little two-legged dinosaur does not automatically mean that they are parent and child. But anyway, I remember that. I remember getting excited about the fight scenes with the Gwangi and the Styracosaurus, and I actually had the Styracosaurus and the Allosaurus model kits from Aurora later on, and I remembered those fight scenes, and I would recreate them with my Allosaurus and Styracosaurus. The Aurora models were really cool. I always liked those. I liked them. I sometimes I think I like the box art more than I like the models themselves, because the box art was really cool. But anyway, I remembered wondering just how they got the wood to build that cage on wheels, and how in the heck did they get Gwangi into that cage as they're carting him back to town through the desert. He gets put into another cage, a much sturdier one, and he's going to make his big debut in the Wild West show. And again, my understanding was very limited at the time, and the midget snuck in and unlocked Gwangi's cage so he could get out, and he ends up eating the midget, which I thought was a kid. What is it with Gwangi eating children? I have no idea what this is. It's okay. I understand now. Gwangi did not eat any. No children were harmed in the making of the movie. Not even the child in the scenes where everybody was running out of the arena after Gwangi got loose, and there's this scene where this woman is carrying her baby, and you hear the baby crying on the soundtrack, but his mouth is not moving. He's just there being carried along by his mom, and he's supposed to be crying, but he's not crying. He's just there with this kind of like confused look on his face, like, "Mommy, what's going on?" I refer to him as the amazing ventriloquist baby. Nobody seems to get it. But anyway, Gwangi breaks free and he rampages through the town, and he ends up getting locked inside the cathedral, and they set the cathedral on fire. And he's not, Gwangi's not helping anything by knocking over the candlesticks and whatnot with his tail, and he gets roasted, and the cathedral falls in on him, and the movie ends. I know, I always felt so sorry for Gwangi at the end, because he's there being roasted alive, and you could just hear him screaming as he's dying. Everybody says it's basically the King Kong formula. These explorers go into this forbidden land, and they see all these cool monsters, and they encounter the biggest, toughest one there, and they decide to bring him back to civilization, and he gets loose, and he runs amok and ends up getting killed. I think this was even before I knew who King Kong was. I saw Gwangi before I saw King Kong. But it's basically the same. It's basically the same plot, just in a Wild West setting with dinosaurs, and it's an Allosaurus instead of a big gorilla. I know. Gwangi's not as sympathetic as Kong was, but it's hard not to feel sympathy for him when you're watching him getting roasted and having to listen to him scream his death screams. It is one of the earliest movies I remember seeing, and it is one of my all-time favorite movies. And today, it was released on this day. I've been telling my coworkers about it, and they're like, "I've never seen it before." I'm like, "Oh, you gotta see it. You gotta see it. It's really cool. It's cowboys and dinosaurs, How could you not like that?" And they're like, "Cowboys and dinosaurs? I think I might like that." I went to visit my family out in California one year, and my niece's husband, he's like, "Let's watch a good Western," and my face just lit up, and I said, "The best." And we found Gwangi on Amazon or whatever it was we were watching it on, and he'd never seen it before either, and he liked it too. It was awesome. Thank you, Mr. Harryhausen, for showing us how dinosaurs acted and behaved, and showing us what they were. You did great. Everything you did was great. And I thank you for it.